I'm 49 years old, mum to 3 children. I'm an author and journalist. 7 years ago, when I was 42, I became a member of the club none of us wants to join, the Betrayed Wives Club. I met my husband through a mutual friend. We've been married for 18 years. We met when I was 30 and working as a magazine editor. He was in finance. Still is. He's smart and social. I generally prefer books to people. Our yin-yang thing works. Like most women, my friends and I had played the "what would you do if you found out your husband was cheating" game. I insisted I'd kick him to the curb. I'd had boyfriends cheat on me in the past. Part of what I first loved about my husband was that he felt so safe. He adored me. He didn't play games. It was all so easy. We were really good friends who fell in love. My husband started seeking out sex as a way to numb uncomfortable feelings even before he met me. His father, who he worshipped, had died young. Then a girlfriend he was in love with said she had cancer, which turned out be a lie. He couldn't cope with the loss, the confusion, the sadness. Sex without emotion became an escape. I knew nothing of his sex addiction until 12 years into our marriage. We had married, moved cities, and altered our career paths. There had been some lean years, but we were finally doing well financially. We had 3 gorgeous, healthy children. Life was good. And then he switched jobs and took his toxic assistant with him. I was surprised. This woman drove him crazy, nagged, criticized, made unreasonable demands. I figured switching firms was the perfect chance to get rid of her. He claimed that he needed her to help him get settled in his new job, that she was crazy but also good at her job. Getting settled at his new job seemed to involve late nights at the office, dinners with his assistant as they organized files. I was trying hard to be understanding because I knew he was under a lot of pressure to succeed. His company had a lot invested in him. I was busy working on a book, so I pushed my nagging thoughts aside. Besides, she was truly nasty. He wouldn't cheat on me, especially with her. One night, he was out of town at a conference. I discovered she'd gone with him, and suddenly, I just knew. It was like a light went off. I called him and he didn't answer. I called again, and again, and again. 31 times I called, and it went to voicemail every single time. The next morning he called me back and I said calmly, "Tell me everything." He, crying, admitted to an affair with her but said it was me he loved. My world went dark. I felt hatred toward her unlike anything I'd ever felt toward another person. She knew me. She had sat at my dinner table. How could anyone knowingly cheat with a married man? A father of 3? What did she expect to get from it besides a bigger office? I was baffled. I called my husband horrible, unpublishable names. I told him he'd broken me forever. Why? I kept asking him, why? All he could say was that it had nothing to do with me. How was that possible? It took me a year to understand how true that was. Affairs rarely have anything to do with the wife. They're fantasy, escape. Which is why so few affairs last once they're pulled from the shadows. My husband found a therapist to help him figure out why he risked everything that mattered to him for a woman who didn't. We fought. I cried. There were days I could barely function. I tried to take care of my kids. I finished my book, though, to this day, I don't know how. I was a mess. I couldn't leave because I could barely get out of bed. 6 months later, the whole story emerged. He had cheated not just with this nasty assistant, but with many women. Our entire relationship, he told me, a sex addict. He was in treatment with a therapist who specialized in sex addiction. To those who tell me that sex addiction is a convenient excuse that cads use when they're caught, I say you've never seen sex addiction. Anyone with sex addiction, like any other addiction, is emotionally crippled by shame and self-loathing. It's the farthest thing from sexy or convenient. Admitting it means 12-step meetings, full disclosure of everything you've ever done, every lie you've told. It's finally looking at yourself in the mirror and hating what you see.